A few days ago, there were lots and lots of leaked footage from the sizzle reel of The Mandalorian from Star Wars Celebration. I've been waiting to see if Star Wars actually releases the real stuff to get a good quality off it, but they haven't yet, so I thought I'll just use somebody's okay footage for this. Now, there's not a lot in it. Obviously, it's just a little teaser. You don't really know what's going on. But it did the job on me, okay? It got me interested. So, I'd heard of The Mandalorian. I hadn't really looked into it much. I knew it was a new TV series they were putting out there. But that's really all I knew. I suspected it probably had something to do with Boba Fett's kids or something like that, which it isn't, luckily. But I didn't know much about it. And watching this, I went, no, I'm interested. So, it's done its job on me. I thought, okay, this is something I might be interested in actually seeing. Which is basically the opposite of what I thought when I saw the Rise of Skywalker teaser trailer. I didn't like the Rise of Skywalker teaser trailer. It did not increase my enthusiasm for seeing Episode 9. I did make another video and I sort of commented it looked to me like they're just ripping off the Return of the Jedi, and I wasn't too impressed with seeing fat old Lando back, but this bit at the start, I think this is really what I didn't like. So this sort of turn pose thing, I don't know what it is about it. It just, on some sort of primal level, I hated it. I just hated her turning around and doing that. And I know that's not a new thing. Everyone's sort of doing it. You get the 3-point pose thing, and all the superheroes do it. I just don't like it. I don't know why, but at the start of this trailer for Episode 9, I thought, no, there's something wrong there. And then the slow motion flip, I didn't like it. I don't know what it is about it, really. It looks like it's trying too hard to put something in that's impressive, but there's nothing impressive about any of this nowadays, unfortunately. Okay, if this was 40 years ago and you had this kind of footage, it would be impressive. This is not impressive. It's trying too hard, and I don't like it. And I can't really explain why, unfortunately, but looking at these two scenes, I don't like it. I don't want to see this film. So anyway, I didn't get that vibe from The Mandalorian. So I don't want to talk about the Star Wars Episode 9. So from The Mandalorian, you don't see much. There's not much going on, but there is nothing I sort of saw and just went, no, I don't like that. So there's nothing for me really to say that I liked it. There's nothing there, but I didn't hate anything I saw at all. It looked interesting. I'm interested in seeing what's going on with this new series, The Mandalorian.
It takes place about 5 years after the Return of the Jedi.
This series follows a Mandalorian.
This new character is a gunfighter, a bounty hunter, a citizen of the underworld on the outer reaches of the galaxy. It starts off with him just hunting down quarries, making his money. This is a character you've never met before, in a period of time that you've never seen.
Everything Jon Favreau just said there has got me interested in watching The Mandalorian. Okay, so it's 5 years after the Return of the Jedi, so that's a period of time where we don't have any kind of films in the way where events have to happen. Then says it's in the outer reaches of space, or the outer rim, so again, we don't really have to have anything to do with the galactic conflict going on. We don't have anything that has to necessarily happen to hook up with some films. And he says that this is a new character, okay, which I think is the most important thing. This is a new character, and I think he means all of it is new characters. Now, on the surface, it may seem strange to think that's a good thing, because you have the whole intellectual property of Star Wars. So Star Wars has got a lot of characters, and to say that we're not going to use any existing characters might seem a little bit strange. Why bother having it as Star Wars at all? But I think this is where a lot of the products have went wrong. I think by grabbing existing characters, they've actually failed. Okay, Solo, for example, I know a lot of people don't like a lot of things in Solo. I actually like Solo, except I have the same complaint that I think most people have. The guy playing Han Solo isn't Han Solo, so there is something horribly wrong with the film, because the main character isn't he's not doing a good job being the main character, so the film on that level is terrible. I liked quite a lot of everything else to do with the Solo film, and I did like that it didn't have a lot of callbacks to a lot of the Star Wars stuff. So yes, there was a Millennium Falcon in it, and obviously Han Solo is in it, but it really wasn't Han Solo. But it wasn't full of stormtroopers. They're in there a little bit, but it was showing the outer reaches, the area that the Empire and the Rebels aren't really associated with. So it's still Star Wars, but they didn't really have to hit all of the normal beats that they've got to do to go, oh, look, here's an X-Wing, oh, look, here's a TIE fighter. Yeah, there was TIE fighters in it. But, you know, it didn't feel like all they're doing is ripping off every element of Star Wars. It looked like they did something new. The film failed horribly, unfortunately. I don't think they'll be doing any more films like that. that, which I think is a shame, because I think the main problem of the film was purely that Han Solo is a pre-existing character and they've recast him. So again, I think this is a good thing that this Mandalorian isn't some sort of character we already know, because that means he's not ruining a character and he's not basically hurting the fan base. Okay, so Star Wars basically is a double-edged sword. You've got a whole pile of fans that like it, or at least you used to until a couple of films ago. You had a big fan base, and so any film you made, you're automatically going to get a lot of hype and a lot of viewers. But you then have to live up to the hype. So there is a downside to having all of this pre-existing fan base. And one of the worst things you can do is to destroy the existing characters, okay? There's nothing that seems to turn people off something than getting rid of the characters they know. So I know a lot of people weren't happy with how Luke was treated. Basically wasn't in The Force Awakens, but he was sort of changed in a lot of people's minds in The Last Jedi. Han Solo was killed in The Force Awakens. I don't have a problem with him dying there, but I know a lot of people didn't want him to die, and I know a lot of people complained there was no sort of reunion between the three main characters. I think if you have pre-existing fans, I don't think you can actually meet their expectations with the characters so many years later. And also, the actors are just old, and, Princess Leia's dead. These aren't the same people. You're not going to get the same performance. It's not going to be the same film. So I think the safest thing really to do is to not touch any of these characters at all. Don't recast a new young person as them. We don't want to see a new young Luke. We don't want to see a new young Leia. We've already seen a new young Han. That didn't go well. And you really don't need to get the older actors in trying to play their part, and they can't really now because all three of them, two of them are dead in canon, and one of them's dead in real life. So I think it's really good news that this is going to be all new characters, basically. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you've got some sort of Jabba the Hutt relative out there. Okay, hopefully you won't have Jabba the Hutt because he died in Return of the Jedi, and this is after Return of the Jedi. But that kind of feel of it, I think it looked fairly interesting to see where they go with it. So everything he said there, I was very interested in going, okay, this sounds pretty good. We'll see how this turns out.
This series offers the opportunity to introduce new planets, new races and species, new starships. However, we want it to feel completely connected and familiar.
And everything he said there as well, I also like. Okay, there's going to be new planets, there's going to be new races and species, there's going to be new ships, but it's all going to have a familiar feel. I think that is exactly what has to happen. You need to keep progressing things through. I think one of the problems The Force Awakens has is it just completely rips off all of the stuff from the original Star Wars: A New Hope. Okay, and they go backwards to having TIE fighters again. Okay, throughout the progression to Return of the Jedi, we get the TIE Interceptor sort of shape, and then for whatever reason we just went back to the TIE Fighter because it's a more iconic shape rather than sort of showing some sort of continuity within the galaxy. It doesn't make any real sense. So here we're going to get just a lot more flavor of more things that hopefully look similar, but we're not getting the same old stuff ripped off. I think that's really good news, and again, this is something that I look forward to seeing if it's any good. Again, there's no details here yet. This could be terrible still, but I'm liking what I hear so far. It sounds interesting to me. It sounds like something that could be good, hopefully. And here just was a little bit I thought was interesting. Sounds like the same sound effect they used for the little hatch at the top of the Millennium Falcon that Lando got Luke from at the end of The Empire Strikes Back, and also even moves in the same way. So I thought that was probably just a strange little homage they've paid there and put that in there. And then this little bit here, if you don't really pay attention, you might not notice him, but that is George Lucas. So I guess Jon Favreau had George Lucas involved. So I know George Lucas was kind of involved a little bit in some part of Episode 9. This looks like they're doing outreach to Lucas, is their kind of outreach to the fans. It's what it feels to me anyway. So they know they've done something wrong. They need to get fans back, and they're kind of showing George Lucas's head again. When Disney purchased Lucasfilm, it was a clean break, and George was kind of banished. Even though I think he was the #1 shareholder in Disney at that point, he owned more stock than anyone else. I think the #2 shareholder was Steve Jobs, and but he was treated like a leper, even though he was their largest shareholder. He was abandoned, but it looks like they're just sort of pretending to bring him back a little bit. Look, here's George, or maybe they're actually listening to him and saying, "Oh, George Lucas can contribute something to the thing he created." Who knows? Anyway, it looks interesting to me. Hopefully it's good. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.